I want you to picture a scenario, and I can almost guarantee you have lived this at least once.
Oh, definitely.
Right. You are standing in your kitchen, or maybe you're sitting at your office desk, and you're just staring at a device.
Usually with a lot of frustration.
Oh, entirely. It
Ah.
could be your smartphone, maybe a high-end tablet, or even that incredibly expensive washing machine you finally splurged on.
Yeah, it's completely dead.
Dead. It will not turn on. It will not charge. It is just this sleek, beautifully designed, very expensive brick.
Yes.
So then you pull up the digital receipt, you scroll down to the date, and you realize the device conveniently died like a mere 3 months after the warranty expired.
It is the absolute worst timing.
And you get that silent, sinking feeling in your gut, right? That little voice whispering in the back of your mind saying, they designed it to do this on purpose.
Yeah, that feeling of powerlessness. When a sealed piece of tech simply gives up the ghost, it's a universally shared frustration. Because consumers have been conditioned, really, to accept that modern electronics have this invisible expiration date. And after that date, you are entirely on your own.
Well, that conditioning is the precise reason we are digging into our sources today. Because today is a massive landmark.
Huge.
It's July 31st, 2026. And as of today, the clock has officially run out for all 27 European Union member states.
Today's the day.
Today is the absolute deadline for those nations to fully implement Directive 2024-1N599.
Which is widely known as the right to repair law.
Exactly.
Right.
So the mission for this deep dive into the source material is to unpack what this directive actually, legally forces manufacturers to do.
Right.
We're going to look at the staggering environmental data driving the change. And because the world of law is never quite as clean as we want it to be,
Ever.
we're going to reveal the messy reality of why a law on paper in Brussels might not immediately help you at your local repair shop this afternoon.
Yeah, to set the context for the listener right out of the gate, we really have to understand this is not just some activist wish list or a gentle corporate pledge for sustainability.
Right. It's not a suggestion.
No, this is a hard, aggressive legal framework, and it specifically targets the absolute heavy hitters of household electronics.
We're talking the big stuff.
Exactly. The directive legally binds the manufacturers of mobile phones, tablets, washing machines, refrigerators, and TVs.
Basically everything keeping a modern household running.
Right. These are the absolute staples of modern life that, well, for the last 2 decades have been trapped in this accelerating cycle of rapid disposal.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to me, the shift in logic here is just wild.
It really is a paradigm shift.
Think about the auto industry for a second. If I buy a car and it breaks down 5 years later, I can take it to my local trusted mechanic down the street.
Sure.
They can look up the manual, they order the specific parts, and they fix the engine. Nobody questions that.
It's totally normalized.
Right, so why on earth have we accepted that a $1,000 smartphone should be like a locked black box?
That you're not allowed to touch.
Yeah, that only the manufacturer is legally or technically permitted to open.
Well, that black box paradigm is exactly what this directive attempts to shatter. Now that we know what today's deadline is, we need to understand the precise weapons this directive gives consumers.
So what are the weapons?
The foundational one is the obligation of repair at a reasonable price, or for free, if applicable.
Even outside the legal guarantee.
Exactly. Even long after the legal guarantee period has expired, manufacturers are now legally required to offer repairs. They can't just, wash their hands of the product the minute the warranty window closes.
That is massive.
It gets better. The directive actively builds in a reward mechanism to change your habits.
Okay.
If your device breaks while it's still under its legal guarantee, and you choose to have it repaired, instead of just taking the easy route and demanding a brand new replacement.
Which is what everyone does.
Right. But if you choose repair, you automatically receive a 12-month extension on that guarantee.
Oh, wow. So the legislation is actively bribing you with peace of mind to keep the original hardware out of the landfill.
Basically, yes.
But we also have to talk about the friction of repair, because one of the main reasons people just buy a new phone is they can't afford to be without one for 3 weeks.
Well, it's shipped to some mega facility 3 countries away.
Exactly. Who can just go offline for 3 weeks?
The lawmakers actually recognized that friction. Under this new framework, consumers have the explicit right to request a loaner device while theirs is in the shop.
Okay, that changes the math considerably.
It really does. And beyond that, the EU is mandating the creation of a centralized, Europe-wide online platform.
Like a directory.
Yeah, basically a massive verified database. It's designed to help you locate certified independent repairers right in your local area.
Oh, that's incredibly useful.
And it will include transparency on their pricing and their turnaround times.
But wait, we have to dive into the technical roadblocks here. Because, the physical availability of a repair shop means nothing if the phone itself is literally booby-trapped.
Ah, yes. The software locks.
Right, cryptographic software pairing.
Hmm.
For a long time, the issue wasn't just a physical proprietary screw. I mean, those existed too.
Oh, they still do.
Right, but manufacturers started putting microchips inside replacement screens and batteries.
Yep.
So when your phone boots up, the motherboard checks the cryptographic serial number of that new screen.
And if it doesn't match the factory records?
Exactly. If it sees the screen isn't the original factory part or wasn't installed with the brand's proprietary software, it simply bricks your phone or disables features like facial recognition.
Just completely shuts it down via a software update. Well, that practice is now explicitly targeted.
They're banning it.
Yes. The directive places a strict ban on technical and contractual roadblocks. Hardware serialization designed solely to block non-original but functional third-party parts. That's out.
Wow. What about the physical screws?
Proprietary screws that require a screwdriver only the brand holds the patent for. Out. Contractual clauses that automatically void your warranty just because you walked into an independent shop, also out.
That is huge for independent shops.
It is. Plus, manufacturers are now obliged to publicly publish their repair manuals and the prices of their spare parts. It is designed to literally blow the doors wide open for a competitive repair market.
Okay, but I am going to push back on the phrasing of the legislation here, specifically that term you used, reasonable price.
Ah, the million-dollar question.
Because who actually gets to define what a reasonable price is in a free market? Let's trace the logic here.
Sure.
If a manufacturer is forced to sell me a replacement screen, but they price that piece of glass just $10 below the cost of a brand new phone, doesn't that defeat the entire purpose?
It absolutely does.
You, as a consumer, are going to look at that repair bill and decide it makes zero financial sense to fix the old device. You'll just buy the new one.
And that right there is the most potent skepticism surrounding this directive in the source material. The term reasonable in legal frameworks is notoriously squishy.
Extremely squishy.
It's very difficult to enforce. The stated intent of the law is that the price of parts and labor should not act as a deterrent to repair.
But intent and reality are very different things.
Exactly. The reality is that market regulators are going to have to aggressively monitor this.
Right.
They have to see whether companies comply with the spirit of the law or if they quietly attempt to price gouge the spare parts ecosystem.
Just to keep their highly profitable replacement cycle spinning.
Precisely.
Which raises a massive question. If manufacturers are so highly resistant to this and will undeniably employ armies of lawyers to look for loopholes in pricing, why is the European Union forcing this issue so aggressively?
Well, building directly off your skepticism about compliance, we have to zoom out. We need to shift from the micro level of a single broken phone to the macro level of the planet.
The environmental impact.
Right. The environmental data pouring into Brussels is just catastrophic. We can look at the latest numbers from the 2024 UN Global E-Waste Monitor, which was produced by Unitar.
Okay, what do the numbers look like?
In the year 2022 alone, the planet generated a staggering 62 billion kilograms of electronic waste.
Wait, 62 jillion with a B.
With a B, 62 billion kilograms.
That is an abstraction. It's almost impossible to visualize that kind of weight. And we're not just talking about harmless plastic casings here.
No, not at all.
That weight represents microscopic traces of gold, palladium, rare earth magnets layered into motherboards, alongside highly toxic heavy metals.
It is a logistical and ecological nightmare. Extracting those rare earth metals from microscopic traces is incredibly difficult.
So they just don't do it.
Right, which means most of it ends up leaching toxins into soil and groundwater, and the waste at the end of a product's life. That's really only half the equation.
What's the other half? The manufacturers.
Exactly. The European Commission's internal estimates show that prematurely replacing products generates the equivalent of 261 million tons of CO2.
Just from making replacements for things that could have been fixed.
Yes. Repairing means drastically less toxic landfill mass, less demand to mine critical conflict-prone minerals like cobalt and lithium, and less manufacturing emissions globally.
But here's where it gets really interesting, though. We are talking about the physical failure of devices. But the source material points out that mechanical failure isn't actually the primary driver of all this
No,
waste.
it's not.
There's this fascinating 2022 paper by Delva Benavides in the Chilean Environmental Law Journal that completely reframes this. We all know the concept of planned obsolescence, right?
Where the manufacturer technically designs a product with an expiration date.
Yeah, using cheap capacitors or gluing a battery in so tightly it degrades in 3 years. We know that trick. But Benavides focuses on perceived obsolescence.
Yes, and that distinction is crucial. Perceived obsolescence is when your device works flawlessly. The battery holds a charge, the screen is pristine, the processor handles everything perfectly. Mechanically, it is fine.
Well, that is.
But the relentless annual marketing cycles, the influencers, the subtle software UI updates that make older interfaces look instantly dated, they engineer psychological dissatisfaction.
They convince you it's garbage.
They convince you that holding a 2-year-old device with last year's camera lens makes you a technological dinosaur.
Which means this sweeping EU directive really only solves half the problem.
Right.
Brussels can legally mandate standard screws and outlaw cryptographic part pairing to defeat planned obsolescence. But no regulation on Earth can outlaw the human desire for a shiny new titanium case marketed by influencers.
Exactly.
Perceived obsolescence is a cultural disease driven by marketing. The law can only ensure that if you want to fix your phone, you have the legal right and physical means to do it.
It is a critical limitation of policy. You can legislate hardware infrastructure. You cannot legislate consumer vanity.
So true. Well, let's transition from the theory of policy to the hard reality of government bureaucracy.
Always a fun topic.
Right, because the EU can announce all the hardware mandates they want. But if I walk down the street in Madrid this afternoon to get my shattered screen fixed, the cashier at the local store probably doesn't care about a press release from the European Commission.
They definitely do not.
So how is the actual implementation of this regulation working today on the exact deadline of July 31st, 2026?
What's fascinating here is that if you walk into that store in Madrid today, you are stepping directly into a massive implementation gap.
Really? Even on deadline day?
Even today, this is where the grand vision of European law violently collides with the sluggish reality of national parliaments.
I see.
Although the directive is officially applicable at the EU level today, many individual member states haven't actually finished translating it into national law.
And the sources highlight Spain as the prime example of this.
Right. Spain actually included these right-to-repair rules in the draft of their sustainable consumption law.
Okay.
And that was approved in its first round back in July 2025.
A whole year ago.
Right. But as of today, it still hasn't been published in the BOE, which is the official state gazette.
Which means it's not functionally law yet.
Exactly. It creates this fascinating stress test for EU governance.
Yeah.
You, as a consumer, have a right that exists in principle in Brussels.
But you lack a functional counter to demand it at.
Precisely. If you march into a store in Madrid today and demand a repair based on the EU directive, the national legal framework isn't there to back you up immediately. You are in a legal gray area.
But wait, the natural assumption is that Brussels would just drop the hammer today. If a country misses the deadline, don't they just get hit with an automatic fine?
No, there is no automatic fine for countries today. Instead, the European Commission can start what's called an infringement procedure. They send formal letters and warnings, and eventually, if the country keeps dragging its feet, it could escalate to the EU Court of Justice.
But that takes months or years. It doesn't help the person holding a broken phone today.
It doesn't.
So the practical advice for anyone listening who wants to navigate this gray zone right now is to consult local consumer associations, organizations like OCU or FACWA in Spain.
Yes.
Because they track the minute-by-minute status of these national laws and can tell you exactly what leverage you actually have today.
Exactly. They are your best navigators.
Despite these bureaucratic delays, though, we have to connect this specific law to the sweeping momentum of EU tech regulation. This isn't just a one-off complaint about a washing machine.
Not at all. It's a structural siege on how gadgets are made.
Right. It's part of a broader circular economy package.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see things like the repairability index labeling that's already live for phones and tablets.
Acting sort of like an energy efficiency rating.
Exactly, like the A to G rating on a fridge, but for how easy a device is to fix.
And then there's Regulation 2023-1542, taking effect in February 2027. This mandates that all portable batteries must be easily replaceable by the user, including smartphones.
Yes, that is a massive shift.
And it has real-world impact already. The impending 2027 battery law literally forced Nintendo to alter the production of the Switch console for the European market.
Just to get ahead of the mandate, this triad of regulations, the labels, the repair directive, and the battery rule, represents a completely coherent strategy to dismantle the fast replacement business model.
But, we do have to impartially lay out the valid pushbacks found in the legal literature here.
Because the industry does have arguments.
Right. They argue there are genuine hardware security risks using uncertified, potentially dangerous charging systems. There's the technical difficulty of repairing highly miniaturized sealed electronics.
And the physical safety hazards.
Exactly. Untrained users poking around inside complex devices with lithium-ion batteries. So what does this all mean for the listener? If a third-party repair shop uses a cheap knockoff battery and it catches fire, who is responsible?
It's a great question.
Is it the brand, the shop, or the consumer? We have to treat these counter-arguments with intellectual respect, not just dismiss them as corporate lobbying.
The liability issue is definitely going to be legally complex over the next decade.
But regardless of the pushback, the global ripple effect is what's really striking. Because if you're listening in Latin America or the US, you might think this doesn't apply to you.
But it will. Manufacturers operate on global economies of scale. They are highly unlikely to design two completely separate product lines, one glued together for the US and one modular for Europe.
It's just too expensive.
Exactly. The EU standard will almost certainly become the global standard.
So today marks a massive, albeit legally messy, victory for the circular economy, shifting the tech industry from a design to replace to a design to repair mindset.
The era of disposable tech is definitely on its way out.
Even with the local legal gray areas right now. But I want to leave you with a final lingering question to mull over, something that builds on the economics of all this.
All right.
If manufacturers are fundamentally forced to abandon the highly profitable model of selling you a brand new phone every 2 years, how will they recover that lost revenue?
Oh, that's a chilling thought.
Will we see the upfront cost of everyday gadgets absolutely skyrocket to compensate, turning basic smartphones into ultra-expensive luxury investments? It's something to think about next time you stare at a broken screen. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.